I'm just ridiculously passionate about looking out for my client, whether they're a buyer, a seller, and whatever their situation is. I want them to have the protections that they deserve. There's so many twists and turns, and it can be a very harrowing experience. It also can be a very wonderful experience, and I'm passionate about making it wonderful for them. And the more tools I have in my pocket to do that with, the better professional I'm going to be.
Hey everybody, it's Matt Fowler. I am the Executive Director of Doorify MLS.com. It's fun to say that. And this is my friend Tracey O'Dowd, who is a director on the Doorify Board of Directors. We have some questions for you today that we've been asking all of our board members. Our board members are fantastic, and the reason that we, get to go out and change things because we have the confidence that they're behind us. Tracey is a valued member of the board. And we've got a few questions about Tracey and a few questions about Tracey's impressions of what's happened in the last little while at Triangle, what's going on at Triangle again. Tracey, what is a little known fact about Tracey?
Well, I get asked that frequently. And my answer that I've been giving is that I was a cheerleader in high school. And you may or may not see that about me. It's funny because I sit there and I think nobody would imagine I was a cheerleader. But sometimes every once in a while, someone will say to me, well, I can see that. You definitely have a bounce or a...
Sure, I'm some team spirit. I was going to feel that.
Okay, fair enough. I can say that when I'm on a team, I'm pretty much all in.
There you go. Get people on their feet. That's great. I was a mascot, if that tells you anything. They had to put a covering on me to let me on the field.
Yeah, but then they did, and you did some wild and crazy stuff and kept everybody on their feet, didn't you?
I did have fun. My brother was also one that said something weird. My answer to that, Tracey, and we're not interviewing Matt today, was that I was on the Alabama State High School pole vault relay team that won the state championship. And
oh, nice.
That sounds like a huge deal, but like we don't, pole vault, like hand off the pole in the race. You add up 3 jumps. And we had 2 guys that were really good, and you had to have 3. So they invited me on, saying, look, we got to have 3. Just like do it for a few weeks and get over the shortest one, and we'll win. So I did, and we won. Yeah. So
well, congratulations.
Yeah, state champion pole vaulter right here. So how long have you served on the board of directors? It's been pretty recent.
I think I'm one of the newer board members, and I've been there since January of 2023. So as of this recording, about a year and a half.
Yeah, about a year and a half. So just a little bit longer than me.
That's right.
I started at the very end of 2021. So you got to come in and like mid stride. We had a lot going on when you hit the board.
I did, and that has presented its own set of challenges, but I feel like I've got a better handle on things. Most recently, I finally feel like I got a handle. I understand what's happening and what happened before I got there. That was the really challenging part, is knowing what decisions were discussed and how they were arrived at before I got there. Because that
now that you're responsible for them.
That's right. That's right.
It's good to know where that came from, and hopefully you found out that it did come from like an organized place. This was a plan that was well thought out, and I can say that because it's not mine. This is an architecture of the way the industry has been wanting to optimize the delivery of MLS services, if I can get all wonky about it, how that works exactly. And we changed how it works, along with a few other MLSs in the industry. And it was I think it's fair to say it was a difficult and painful transition for many. And there's a lot of, we can unpack that for an all-day podcast, which we won't do today, except to say that we've kind of come out on the other side of that, and we're starting to see the benefits of people being able to choose what technology they want to use. The back end that we felt was a non-negotiable is now up and running. It's super fast. We've got lingering friction between these platforms that we're confident we can resolve as these platforms upgrade the technology that they're using. But it was a rough winter last Christmas. So you've been on the board for a couple of years. How long have you been in real estate?
I got my license in 2006. So
a while.
Yep. I literally just had my 18th anniversary. As a matter of fact, while we were in Seattle, and I just realized this morning that I missed it because I normally do it some sort of announcement. And all of a sudden today I was doing something. And I was like, oh no, that was last week and it's gone.
Well, that's great. You were so engaged. Like psychiatrists say that the optimal mental state is bliss, where you don't really understand the passage of time. Like you get lost in a book or lost in what you're doing. You get lost in what you're doing.
I
But
don't know
still,
if we call it bliss.
well, or flow. Sorry, they call it flow. And it's supposed to be the opposite of anxiety in psychology terms. When you are so engaged in what you're doing that the world passes you by, including those things you could be worried about, because you're engaged in what you're doing so much. That's great.
Well,
So you've seen, what'd you say, 2006?
2006. Yes.
Yeah,
So I've
okay.
seen a lot. I've seen a whole lot.
So you got kind of up and running, and then like the brake slammed, right?
I have great timing.
A lot while later, 10 years later, we have COVID. So between 10 and 20, you got to see a long uptick. Really, 2016 is when our records show that there was just a kind of a hard turn.
That's upward. Right. Yeah, it started in around 12, but I would say 16 is about where I had not looked back to the right. crash or the tough times in quite some time.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Then COVID, what was that like?
Well, gosh, COVID, it has a lot of lasting effects, I think, probably for everybody. And one of the biggest to me is it's just changed our entire industry in the blink of an eye. It happened very quickly where we were stepping into the virtual world slowly. And I think as an industry and really as a country and maybe even as a world, we were all stepping into the virtual world still rather slowly, I feel like. And when
working remote and doing those remote showings and
nobody did any of that. And we certainly, gosh, I never even thought about selling a house without the client ever seeing it until COVID. And it was done more than once. And so I think that it taught all of us that we can embrace technology when we have to. So maybe we should look at it when we don't have to, I think is one of the and I'm not saying that properly. So this is where we're going to have to do some cutting, but
no, that came through, Tracey. Like,
yeah,
no, I think you said that really well. I want to let you comment on something for Andrea. You and I have both heard from people that complain about the change that occurred, and change is difficult for some people.
Especially in our industry. I don't know if you've picked up on that, but we don't like change. We don't care for it at all.
Right. I get that. And, you make money, you don't make money like filling out these forms. You know what I mean? That's not where you make money. Those are things that keep you from going out and building your network. And, I've described it as if the software on the ATM that you always use is updated and you're late, and you're on your way to the concert and you need $60 in cash right now, and you stop and it wants you to watch a video or something, and like all the buttons are different. This isn't good news. You're late.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have $60. And the idea that you should show up early to practice to use the ATM in case the software should change, that's ridiculous. But I get that. And I get treating it like the ATM. You push the buttons and you get your CMA or what you need, and you the print out of the house. But technology came to the real estate world a while ago.
Correct.
And it's kind of speeding up for the reasons that you gave. COVID's certainly one of them. The age of the buyer is another one. And those are things that are happening to a lot of jobs. A lot of professions are becoming more technical.
Automated.
Yeah, there's a great article just for the podcast here. I'll put it in the notes from Mark Andreessen back in the day called Software is Eating the World. And it's true. And I have a presentation about this in real estate. Back in the day, you were a people person if you were going to go into real estate, right? And I still have people come up and kind of take my forearm and say, honey, I'm a people person. Come explain this to me, I'm like, I so feel that. I really do. But I want people who know so much about their neighborhoods and about their communities like you do, Tracey, to be empowered to defend themselves against that 30-year-old who doesn't think they know what they're doing because they don't use TikTok or something. Your ability to use TikTok is not going to save that guy money on his house or get them in the right one for his family. So there's a middle road in there somewhere where the technology organization has to empower you enough for you to feel confident in the use of these new tools so that you can demonstrate your competency to that millennial who is evaluating you unfairly based on your current technical knowledge. So, what would you say to people on your team? What do you say to people on your team who say, "Look, I don't have time to learn anything right now. It's like stopping by the ATM. I just want my $60. What do I do?" What do you say to that person to get them to still be a realtor in 3 years?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Matt. And I wish I had the answer because that would solve a lot of problems. I think really all I can speak to is who we are, which is we rely on systems, especially the busier we are. The busier we are, the more we have to have systems in place. And we have to become we automate ourselves and we automate our systems and our staff. So when there's new technology, it disrupts what we've already put into place. And it can be very challenging for us to recognize it as, wait a minute, this is a tool. We just have to slow down long enough to learn how to use the tool.
Mm-hmm.
But it's easier in the moment to do what we've always done because we know.
Sure.
So this is such a complex industry.
Well, that's
And
so
then let's
human.
not even talk about the industry as a whole. Let's just talk about buying or selling a house. That is
Yeah.
a very complex transaction. And we do it all day, every day. So it can seem kind of easy for us. And it sometimes may look easy. We may make it look easy, but it's because of the system. So I think what I love that Doorify is doing and that excites me the most is we're now offering different sets of tools to different sets and subsets of people and professionals, because not every professional is going to have the same needs. Not every professional enters many listings daily. There are agents and teams and producers out there who literally put in listings. That's all they do all day is they're entering. It's just data entry. So we mess that up and it causes a big problem for that system. But sometimes you have to break things and sometimes we have to spend money to make money. All of us are business owners. If you have a real estate license, you are a business owner. And so we have to, I love what Doorify is doing, which is encouraging us to learn some of those new things. Let's slow down because the world is so fast. If we take our little steps back and look at a new tool and say, should I take a couple hours to get this right? And it's going to save me infinite hours in the future. Is that something that ultimately benefits me? But we're just not there. We've never had to be there. Nobody's ever presented this to subscribers. And now we're presenting it and it's confusing. But I did not answer your question, but it was.
No, I think it did answer the question, Tracy, in that it's a really hard question to answer. Right. So, I think I use all these metaphors. If you're a business person and you've been using the same machine in your plant, right? It works. You make money on it. You know how to use it. You're good at using it. You're skilled with that machine. And, somebody comes along and says, tell you what, let's rip everything out. Let's be closed for a month and let's put this entirely new thing in. That's not popular. It's going to be hard to make that financially feasible. It's just difficult to do that. In business, though, people do find better machines. And if they're using the one that makes 10 an hour instead of the one that you use that makes 2 an hour, you may love it and rely on it. You may be great at using it. But if somebody's just come up with something that brings greater efficiency, one huge thing in this industry is about speed. And I'm going to transition to my next question, but it's about speed because I'm going to get you to respond to what you think about B2B to C. So we recognize now with our consumer focus that we're a B2B to C business. And we've always thought about ourselves as B2B. We only talk to the brokers. There's no reason for us the consumers even to know we're here, except for we have the most fair and open housing network in the world, and we're under fire by the regulators because the consumers don't think it's the most fair and open housing network in the world. And we have things that probably could be made better. I think we got started on that this summer with the change that we made, but we also disrupted some things and made things harder for many buyers. I think we have a lack of transparency going into the changes that as a result of the changes that we made. So A lot of our subscribers, Tracy, think that that it's inappropriate for the MLS to be like skipping the broker and talking to the consumer. But we have a B to B, there's a B in the middle, C, a business, and we're not forgetting about the B in the middle. I want the app that you use on your phone from whatever vendor you get it to be as capable of being as fast as the fastest app on the App Store with the updates that they get from other apps that they get off the App Store that are super fast. So when I think of B2B2C, I'm thinking about it because of the branding that we need to do, but also the technology is that to go from B to C in under a second, to be as fast as the fastest app on the App Store, we're going to have to get our proverbial stuff together with our strategies, our technology, with our communications between your brokerage and my company so that we've got that greased. We've got to do that. So tell me help me respond to people who say, I'll ask it in Andrea's specific format. How does Doorify deliver on the promise of connecting people to property, given what we just understood about that?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Doorify's unwavering commitment to deliver quality, accurate information in a very timely manner to its subscribers has been apparent since I joined in 2023. And while we had some hiccups with the data transfer during front end of choice, overall, Doorify still contains the most accurate information and is delivered more expeditiously than any platform out there. It's just, there's no two ways around that. And that's one of the things that I've always for years encouraged people to, my consumer, my direct client, pay attention to what I send you, because what I am sending you is hot off the press. It is the best, quickest, most immediate information you can get is what I send you directly from my MLS. It's always been that way. And if we can now, what's happened is the consumer has had to go to third parties, and I won't name names, but we all know them. And there's a lot of popular brands out there that people are using for their searches. I've always been the person who says, why aren't we giving the information directly from the horse's mouth? Why do we need this third party? So this excites me not from a relinquishing control aspect, but more of a let's give the consumer some control back, because they want to be in control. They clearly want to be in control. They want to go out and look on the internet. They want to find the properties they're interested in. If they're selling, they want to see what's out there to compare it to. They're begging for that information. So why not give it to them direct from the source as quickly and as accurately as humanly possible? I think that makes our platform more beneficial. And I don't know why we wouldn't do that.
Yeah, it really does, Tracy. Great answer. That was perfectly done. And I think I really respect what our subscriber Zillow is doing. There are other apps out there that have a really cool user experience. There's one for sight impaired people that's really cool. I like all of them. My problem is with having the central committee. I've described this as being very Soviet in its distribution, the way we used to distribute software, that there's the central committee literally that picked the thing that everybody has to use. It's like, you give me 1 ruble, I give you 1 software. And that's crazy. When we do have the technical ability it's a stretch, but we do have the technical ability to give people the ability to choose. And by we, I mean the vendors really struggle with this concept. Not all of them, but definitely some of them. So I'm going to ask you one more question and I'll let you go too. Tell me about the passionate question. Why are you passionate about opening doors to homeownership?
That's a really good question. And if there's anything that I'm not lacking, it's passion for the consumer. So I remember what it was like to buy my first house. And I remember it like it was yesterday, as a matter of fact. And it was by far the most frightening and also the most exciting experience I've ever had. And the old IYKY, I think that's right. IYKYK. If you know, you know. And if you've bought a house out there, then you know what I'm talking about. And there's just no feeling like it. And I want everyone to be okay, to be in the know, and to be able to experience the joy and freedom that comes with that. And the average consumer, the average person in America is going to own 3 homes. And that's just a real broad statistic, but 3 homes is not very many to someone like me who buys and sells multiple transactions, a month. I do it every day. So for that person, 3 years, it's really tough to navigate. And I think that I, even as a professional, wouldn't do it by myself. So I'm just ridiculously passionate about looking out for my client, whether they're a buyer, a seller, and whatever their situation is. I want them to have the protections that they deserve. And there's, you wouldn't just put your 12-year-old out in a car and say, go drive it. Even after the third or fourth time they've done it, now we have bumper stickers that we put on our kids' cars, and we leave them there as long as humanly possible
Yeah,
to
sure.
let people know that this is a new driver. So I just feel like there's so many twists and turns, and it can be a very harrowing experience. And it also can be a very wonderful experience. And I'm passionate about making it wonderful for them. And the more tools I have in my pocket to do that with, the better professional I'm going to be.
Yeah, great answer, Tracy. Perfect. And right on time.
Wow,
Tracy,
I did it.
thanks for joining us today for our board profile. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks for having me, Matt. I appreciate it. And I appreciate the opportunity to serve on the board.
Yeah, of course. We love having you there. And for our subscribers, this is one in a series of our Beat the Board profiles. You can see who is on the board of directors on a new tile on the dashboard that says board of directors. And you can see how to learn more about the people who serve on our board. So go do that. I'll stick a link to it in the show notes. Tracy, thanks again for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Matt. I appreciate it.